Alrighty, welcome back to Scorn. This is episode number 9. So we're going to take a look at the achievements for the game, and they are pretty straightforward. There are 12 achievements. And I believe the first two are mutually exclusive, so the only reason I got both is because I wanted to see what happens if you did that when I restarted it. So, one is extraction. So, the first being that you come across, you need a hand, and we were able to get his hand and flush him down a drain, basically kill him. And then the second part is the second one, hand in hand, number 2, is saving him, or keeping him alive rather. Actually, you don't really save him at all. Um, you just leave him hanging. So, actually a crueler fate, I think. So that's what hand in hand was. The rest of them, the 3 through 12. So 3 is hazardous occurrence, 4 is close encounter, 5 is key possession, 6 is path forward constructed, 7 is at the lowermost point, 8 is station to station, 9 is detachment, 10 is fluid flowing within, 11 is perception beyond, and 12 is Finn. So there's only 12 achievements. You can't miss any of those except for one of the first 2. So, yeah. Not really achievements, it's just, did you play the game or not? So really not much to go over. However, I do want to go over my thoughts about the game. So, there was not a single line of dialogue, not a single voice-acted line. There were very few sounds altogether. There was nothing to read. There was no lore that you could go by. There was no map system. The world and all the dungeons were pretty monotone. Not much color at all. Probably intended to be that way, but it kind of makes for a bland game. So basically, you're just thrown in there. You're thrown down there, and this is what's going on. This is you, or I guess it's you, and you're just trying to figure out what happened. As a player, you're trying to figure out what any of this is about. So from what I felt, so at the very opening of the game, you're crawling in what appears to be a desert, or at least a very barren landscape, and you're crawling toward a tower, and the tower is there, and you can see it, and there's a building on the side of the tower. And then it kind of does a flash where you fall through a crack, and it makes it feel like you were seeing something in the past, something that had already that was there, and then you fell through the hole, landed in the first part of the game, and you are actually in the future from that point. So I got the sense that you were a being in that civilization, the one where you were crawling toward the tower. And obviously something had happened at that present time where the tower was still standing with the building next to it, and you were crawling to it. Something catastrophic has happened at that point, I think. And then you fall through the hole and you awaken, and I believe you are far, far into the future from the point where you saw the tower. You appear to be humanoid. You are humanoid, but you appear to be not human, but humanoid. So I'm not sure where the world is placed, if it's just some completely different world, or if it's supposed to be Earth in the future. There was nothing there really to let you go one way or the other as far as what you see, so you can take it for what it was. For me, it felt like it was just another world and another civilization, though he was human enough um, to give you the feeling that it could be Earth that you were on, just either much farther in the future or a different reality Earth, or maybe another planet in the solar system close to Earth, maybe Mars, or who knows. Um, so anyway, it's clear that you know the technology um, of the world, of the species, of the civilization. And it felt like from the very beginning that you had a goal, like you knew where you were going. Um, Everything that you came across, you knew how to use, um, without any type of question. It seemed like you just knew exactly how to use every device, and you were unafraid of putting your body parts into devices that that ended up, chomping on your arm or doing some other thing to you. Like you had, like at the very end where um you basically put yourself in the care, I guess, of what appears to be an electronic automaton, a surgeon, or some, I don't know what you would call that, but not really surgeon. I mean, maybe it was. Whatever, it was some type of medical apparatus, and you didn't have any problem with putting yourself into that apparatus and locking yourself down. And again, it seemed you knew exactly what the thing was going to do. So on the first part, you're going around and it seems like you have a goal, like you know where you're going. So as you go through, you're trying to get to wherever this is that you're going, and we find out it's at the end. It's that temple. And there is a point where after you get out of the first area, the point of no return, you get into another area where you got to do some other steps to get out of it. But we end up causing something. We cause an explosion, and then we are knocked unconscious or we are killed, maybe. Um, and then we wake up in a barren wasteland out of a pod with an umbilical cord attached to us. And it felt like to me that there had been a lot of time that had passed from that point, from the point that we were knocked unconscious, killed, whatever, to the point that we came out of that pod. Now, I don't know how we got to the pod. Maybe we were dragged there? Um, I mean, someone could have found us and stuck us in the pod. Maybe the pod. I assumed the pod was a birthing pod because of the umbilicus, but maybe it was a rejuvenating pod where they found our body. Maybe another survivor. I don't know. Um, and placed us in the pod, or maybe that species simply that's how they gave birth, is through the pods, like artificial wombs. Maybe it was a species that was using artificial wombs to birth their people. Um, So, not sure what happened from the point where we got knocked out to the point that we woke up and coming out of the pod. But again, after coming out of the pod, so if it was like a birth, or if it was a birth, we certainly felt like we knew again exactly where we wanted to go. So I don't really think it was a birth. I mean, I could be a rebirth, and then that would make sense because then we still are progressing down the line of a character that knows exactly where that character wants to go. So we go through this desert area, and we find the remnants of our civilization, I guess. And we find this like red growth growing all over the place. All over the place, and it seemed to be invasive. So I'm thinking that that red growth is what destroyed the civilization. That's what caused the very opening scene for him to be crawling toward the tower. At that point, whatever that red growth is what was the downfall of that civilization. So we find our way to what appears to be a very large building, maybe a sunken ship. Not a sunken ship, maybe a ship that has been stranded, but it's a very, very large ship. Or it could be just a large building. I didn't really get which one that would be, because it kind of looked like it might have been a ship. But we get to the ship, and that's when we find that there's something else alive, and eventually it attacks us, and it's a parasite, and the fucking thing goes into us, and it starts eating off of us, and eating our life force. But again, we did not seem like that was something that was unknown. It seemed like that we knew what it was, what happened, and it was expected that that would happen. So maybe when we woke up, maybe that was that parasite was part of the red vine part that destroyed the civilization, so we were familiar with what it was, and that's why it didn't seem like he was surprised that, hey, this thing just stuck its arms and legs and all of its shit into me, and he just went on his way and continued to doing things despite this this parasite. And as we continued to go, the parasite kept feeding on our life and getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where we could no longer use our hand because the parasite had went over it, and we had to use a device to clear it off a little bit in order to continue. That came later. So we still are going towards a goal that we apparently know, and we still know everything about the technology that we're dealing with. So one thing I didn't mention, at the beginning of the game, when we go and get save, well, at the beginning of the game, in order to get the machines to function, in order to get things to function, we had to go to an archive, what I was calling an archive. Basically, we had to pull little pods off a wall, and place it, and the crane would place the pod, and it placed it down to where a creature of some sort, a shelled creature, was able to be dropped into what appeared to be a wheelchair type device, a scooter wheelchair. So it was clear that at some fashion, probably not by their will, there were some creatures that were being used to power the devices of the other civilization. And I kept saying this guy was pretty cruel, the way he was dealing with it. So when we went and saved the guy for the hand-in-hand achievement, when we saved him, he was very rough with the thing. Pulling on him and throwing him around, didn't care, and then at the end he stuck his hand in the device and just left him there to die, basically. At first I thought maybe it was going to be the same species, like we were, that's just, you know, he happened to go a different route. But no, I feel like our character was pretty fucking mean to that thing. So I'm thinking that thing was either another species that coexisted with the civilization, or maybe even a slave of the civilization. But we couldn't use the devices without it. So when we finally get moving again, we see other similar things around, monsters. So I don't know, maybe they were also part of it. I'm not sure how monsters worked into it. The ones that spit on us and the big Hulk ones that we had to take care of. But anyway, yeah, he was pretty mean to that thing. All right, so we got the parasite in us, and we're heading to our destination. Which, let's see if there's anything in between that and that. Trying to remember. No, okay. So we end up finally getting to a temple, and it was definitely a temple to fertility. There were statues after statue after statue after statue of to the beings in sexual poses, um, and just in the whole architecture of the thing, it was clear that this is where or this area was something that had to do with fertility, and that's really the only clue we had of what we were trying to do. At the end there, we were trying to get to this area that was dedicated to fertility, and we knew all about the technology, 100%. So we've got the parasite in us. We find a machine that we are able to use to extract the parasite. So we knew how to use that thing, which means that for sure that civilization was attacked by parasites before of that nature, and they had designed machines specifically to get rid of them. So I think the parasites and the red stuff was the downfall of the civilization. So we got rid of the parasite, and after that we're bleeding. We're I don't know. He seemed pretty damn indestructible as far as I was concerned, but I guess he was pretty much close to being dead there at that point. And I'm trying to think of what was the overall goal for him to get to that area. Like why? And the thing I came up with was that he was there because he knew there was something there that could possibly um, reignite their species. He knew that something in the fertility temple would allow their species to be reborn or propagate. I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing I could think of at the time. Now I'm thinking about it. I think there's some other options that we can go down. But anyway, so he's bleeding. He's got the parasite out. The parasite fucking escapes like a fucking asshole. He lets the parasite escape. Anyway, so he gets to this machine now that's obviously a medical machine. He knows what it is. He straps himself down to it, and this thing starts going to town. He starts cutting him open, and it cuts open his brain, and then attaches a tentacle and attaches his brain to like this blob of stuff at the top of the ceiling. And at first I thought that's part of the red stuff, but maybe it's not. Maybe it wasn't part of the red stuff. But anyway, clearly he knew he was going to be cut open. I don't know if he died at that point. I think he might have died at that point. He seemed pretty lifeless, but then later on he didn't seem lifeless. But I mean, clearly he knew he was going to have his brain cut open and have his tentacle attached to whatever that fucking thing was. So, and this thing that cut him open was an automation. And during the temple thing, he worked very hard to be able to get two of these what appeared to be like pregnant or symbols of pregnant women. He needed two of them. And after the machine cut him open we were able to control the two pregnant females, and they ended up not being alive. They were, at least I don't think they were alive. I don't think they were actually a species. I think they were just, well, like an artificial womb. I'm pretty sure that's what they were. They were just an artificial womb. So these two robots, that's what they were, AI robots. Um, we had to manipulate them to be able to open a door to the next area, and then after we got the door, um, during that time we had to go back and pick up his body and bring it over to the gate, and this gate led into this scene where you see in the background what appears to be a white fluttering vagina, and there's like there's two rows of statues, I think four each, and the statues have half their head blown off, or at least looks like half the head blown off, and they're all facing each other. And he's on the ground, I think. Was he on the ground? I'm not sure exactly if he was on the ground or not. But anyway, they placed him down, and then the fucking parasite came back and attacks him. And when the parasite first attacks, you can see him try to get his arm and try to crawl towards the V-shaped wound that's fluttering in the background. But the parasite overwhelms him and takes him over completely and creates this like columnar structure with half his face split up, one eye here and one eye there, and that's it. That was it. You're game over. From what I could tell, he never got to his destination. He was trying to get into the womb. That's fluttering in the background. So I'm not real sure what he was truly trying to do there. I mean, why did he need to get to that? I don't know. Like I don't know why he was trying to get to that, especially in such a condition that he was in, being cut open. He knew he was going to get cut open. He knew his brain was going to be attached to that thing, whatever that happened to be. Although it seems kind of odd that when they grabbed his body, I don't know if it showed the tentacle being snapped or not, but obviously it couldn't still be attached to it. It could be, seeing that the two females were basically artificial wombs, what appear to be robots. It could be that the blob, the amorphous blob at the top of the screen was actually a computer, an organic computer, and maybe somehow by attaching his brain to it, he was able to upload his consciousness into that computer, though he still seemed to have complete mental capacity at the end there, I think. Because he did try to run. Yeah, he did try to crawl away. So maybe that was the whole thing. He was just there to, well, it wasn't the whole thing because he did try to crawl away. He wanted to get into there. But I can see the only reason the attaching of the brain, like he knew that was going to happen. He wouldn't have strapped himself down in that device if he didn't know it. So he needed to connect to that brain. Maybe he downloaded some information from the amorphous blob up there. Maybe he downloaded some information, not uploaded something. And once he got what he needed, he went. He needed to get to whatever was behind the gate there. Huh. Huh. So whatever was behind the gate, I don't know. Yeah, so that was Scorn, and I gotta say, from a game standpoint, it was it really wasn't a bad game. It just wasn't like a normal game. It wasn't. It was more of a walking simulator than anything else, really. When you boil it down, You were just walking around trying to figure out what was going on. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on what Scorn is, what was really going on in the game. Um, I don't know how far off I am, but that's what I thought. All right, so I'm gonna end this episode here. See you on the next one.